students and members of the Fullerton community. My name is Justin Giroux, and today the biggest thing that I think about as a student is what I'm going to do 5 years from now, the job that I will have, the things that I will want to be able to have with me for the rest of my life. I think about a family, I think about kids, and I think about whether or not it's going to be okay for me to raise them in environments that we put ourselves in on a daily basis. As Americans, because we are so attached to the media, the feeling of a fear for the worst is always put into the back ends of our minds. You know, the upcoming 2012 apocalypse that we all circulating in the back of our minds, that the world's going to end on some random day, that things will go out of chaos and there will be destruction and cataclysmic events everywhere, is just a false rumor. Much like the thoughts about nuclear energy. When we hear about the use of nuclear energy, nobody ever really has a positive thought that goes on in the back of their mind. We think of movies like The Day After Tomorrow, where we see the world in catastrophic downfall. We think of terrorism and the people that are trying to make us believe that their religion or so on and so forth is more important by using means of fear. But that's not it at all. And I think about, as college students, the economic struggles that we go through to put ourselves through college. But what if all of the questions and all of the thoughts that we have about this were summed up to the size of a quarter? The San Onofre nuclear power plant, located just south of San Clemente in northern San Diego, has 2 operating power plants that are able to produce about enough energy to power 1.4 million homes. And in California, it's quite a lot. So today in this speech, I will discuss the misunderstandings of nuclear energy in 3 main points. First, I will talk about that the perceived risks greatly outweigh the actual risks of what it is that makes a nuclear reactor function correctly. I will talk to you about the benefits of nuclear energy and how our society can take from that. And finally, I will discuss that the disposal of nuclear waste and nuclear elements is actually a lot less dangerous than the burning of most fossil fuels that we have today. Which leads me into my first point. Like I was saying in my introduction, as students, we do have a fear for the worst. Whatever we see on the news, we're always afraid of our safety. But in reality, it's nothing to be afraid of. Nuclear energy has been around, and if there's anything that we think of when we think of nuclear energy, it is how our future is going to be bettered by this. When we heard about the recent events in Fukushima and Nagasaki, we all think about the iconic mushroom cloud and what that symbolizes in the back of our mind. We are afraid of the coolant towers that are being built in our backyard, much like the residents of San Onofre. But what we don't understand, and sometimes we tie together the fact of a nuclear cloud, and we tie that to a nuclear meltdown. And we tie, all of the energy in the process to the cooling towers, when in actuality they're very loosely related. And the earthquake and the devastation in Fukushima plant didn't actually show us what went wrong with the reactors. It actually showed us that nuclear reactors do exactly what they are designed to do. Up until the earthquake and the tsunami, the power plant at Fukushima was running up to full capacity, and when the earthquake hit, it didn't show us the flaws inside of the nuclear reactor, but it actually showed us the components and what a nuclear reactor is actually supposed to do, because it shut down. And plants that were made in the 1980s that require maybe a little bit of upkeep and checking up here and there to see if they're still running at full power is beneficial. Which brings me into my next point, is the fact that we have so much that we think about nuclear energy, but the benefits from nuclear energy greatly outweigh the fact that we look for jobs in this economy. That's the biggest thing that we are looking for right now, is whether or not we are going to be able to sustain ourselves when we leave this place. And nuclear energy, like I said when I made the reference to the quarter, an actual uranium-235 pellet that is stored inside of the nuclear rods is the size of a quarter. And energy like that is very sufficient, especially to students like us who pay taxes. If we were to develop nuclear productivity, it would create jobs for people. It would create a less amount of money needed to put into projects like these. As a matter of fact, according to Dr. Josh Vasquez of the California Financial Group, if we were to start pouring money into projects like these, we would cut taxpayers' debts in about half in a single year. According to him as well, the average college student racks up about $80,000 of debt before they reach their senior year of high school. And with energy like this and advancements in futures like this, we will be able to see a stimulation of jobs in the future. And finally, my third point is the fact that the burning of nuclear radiation and the waste is actually much less damaging to the environment. When we think about the environment today, the biggest thing we think of is global warming, and we think of damage to our atmosphere. When, according to the 40th President of the United States, Richard Nixon, I believe, I'm not too sure, it's just that. But anyway, according to him, the waste that is produced from nuclear material is enough to be stored on your desk for a year. Nuclear energy is something that we are all very, very nervous about because we don't know, much like our futures. We don't know what's going to come of it. We don't know where we're going to be in 5 years. But what I do know is that, on a daily basis when, global warming and things like that in the back of our minds are such a big thing that we think about, steps like this could be a huge advancement to our future and what we hope to achieve as far as, getting this economy out of a economic recession. So today I have discussed that, one, the perceived risks of a nuclear meltdown are a lot greater than the actual risks that are going on. I discussed in brief a little bit about the benefits of nuclear energy and how it can create jobs and bring us out of a economic crisis. And then finally, I talked about how the disposal of nuclear waste actually is a lot less harmful than most burning of fossil fuels. Nuclear energy is something that is very scary. It's not something that is toyed around with. But at the same time, it's also no fear for the worst. Like I said in my first main point, the earthquake didn't prove to us what a failure, this was. It proved to us what we are capable of. It proved to us that, amidst a terrible situation like this, that we can still be able to feel safe and not feel worried about the things that are going on. And that is my speech. And thank you.